I come from a family of Arsenal supporters, and my dad and my uncle were at White Hart Lane in '71 when they ended up locking the gates an hour before kick-off, when essentially they'd let as many people in as they possibly could. When Ray Kennedy scored in the 85th minute, my dad always tells me the story of how he ended up on the pitch with the 25 or 30,000 or so Arsenal fans that squeezed in that night.
It changes from decade to decade. Early 60s, Tottenham were doing everything and playing wonderful football, delightful football, and having all the success. We were having a struggle. Then our time came, the Fairs Cup, then 71, the double, etc.
Beyond the change of fortunes, there was an even stranger turn of events for Terry Neill himself. It all started with a surprising phone call.
I still to this day don't know why the board of Tottenham Hotspur in the mid-70s asked me to take over the bill. Totally understandable that the Tottenham fans, we've got an ex-Arsenal captain replacing the great Bill Nicholson, and they were bottom of the league. Death threats, hate mail by the ton, abusive phone calls, people queuing in the car park before and after games to stick one on me, and that was their own fans. We stayed up in the very last game of the season. So, as I say, human nature being what it is, instant hero.
For an ex-Arsenal hero, though, it was never going to be a lengthy stay at White Hart Lane for Terry Neill.
It broke my heart to leave Tottenham, but it was just simply a question. I could not get on with the directors, and I just felt much too young to die.
There was only one direction for Terry to go, back down the Seven Sisters Road.
And then suddenly I got the call, would I like to have lunch with Dennis Elwood, who'd been like a father to me at the Arsenal when I arrived as a 17-year-old. A couple of industrial size gin and tonics out in the lawn, summertime, beautiful summer of 76. Welcome back. I was at long last, as I felt, certainly, at home.
It wasn't just Terry Neill, though, who made the journey from Spurs to Arsenal. Pat Jennings, Spurs' legendary goalkeeper, made the move too.
Probably the best bit of transfer business that I ever did was taking him across that divide from Tottenham to Arsenal. When I signed Pat and gave him a 4-year contract, there were nods and winks all over the place. Oh well, Terry and Pat have played the Northern Ireland team for years, old pals act and everything like that. In truth, 8 years later, Pat Jennings was still in the Arsenal first team, still playing international football, and I was gone.
It was a mark of Jennings' quality and popularity that he managed to cross North London with friends in both camps.
We'll welcome them. Because if players move from Tottenham to Arsenal, we generally only take their very best players. I mean, Pat Jennings was a goalkeeping legend and revered by both teams.
Spurs fans are reasonable people. Pat Jennings did it, but he's been welcomed back with open arms, okay?
But it isn't always that amicable when a player crosses the city to join the rival. Sol Campbell's infamous move from Tottenham to Arsenal in July 2001 split North London once again. Campbell had been the jewel in Spurs' crown.
I think the headlines when Sol Campbell left was the ultimate act of betrayal. Not only did he lie to the Tottenham supporters by saying he wasn't going to go anywhere.
Up to the last day, many Tottenham fans were very confident that Sol was going to stay and extend his stay, and then he ends up taking 100 grand a week to move to their most bitter rivals, Arsenal. Now, that is the ultimate crime.
Speaking to a couple of Spurs fans I'm very good friends with, sadly deep down they understand that he had to leave Tottenham because he was a world-class centre-back and he had no place being at Tottenham, because a world-class centre-back deserves more than finishing 11th and going out in the first round of the Cup every year.
The fact he went to them, yeah, that's what really hurt us. The fact that he's always said he was a Tottenham fan through and through, and you know, at the height of his career basically, to uproot and go over to that lot, that's what really hurt.
Back in the 1970s, though, Arsenal were fast establishing themselves as the dominant force in North London football. Terry Neill took his Arsenal side back to White Hart Lane in 1978. Liam Brady's famous strike and an Alan Sunderland hat-trick helped the Gunners to a 5-0 victory over their great rivals. In 1986, Arsenal made a crucial appointment. George Graham, who'd been so stylish as a player for the Gunners, became their most pragmatic manager.
At the beginning, late 80s, early 90s, we were playing good football again, and then George Graham, the side that he created that won the Cups in the mid-90s, again were classed as extremely negative, and every football fan said they didn't like watching Arsenal.
Arsenal did get a name for themselves as a boring team to watch, but their fans, players and manager never tired of the trophies they won.
All you heard from Tottenham fans during the George Graham years were, OK, you're winning, but you're boring. And we were winning. We were very, very boring. I don't think anyone can sort of take that away from George Graham's teams.
Over at White Hart Lane, it simply couldn't have happened. Ever since the glory days of the 60s, Spurs fans insisted on football with a certain panache.
They expected a certain brand of football, and that makes it harder because you can say, well, I just want to win. I just want to win. We'll block the goal. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll do that, and we'll get a goal. And I'm not saying that in the case of the Arsenal, to be fair. I think Arsenal had some terrific players who happened to be excellent defenders, and they didn't give many goals away, and they didn't make any bones about it. I know in the end it is all about winning, but there's also a responsibility of entertainment. It is an entertainment too.
Nevertheless, the sound of Arsenal's celebrations down the road was difficult for Spurs fans to accept.
All the way through, they've wanted to emulate what Tottenham have done. We were the first British club to win a European trophy. They've only won 2, we've won 3. We were the first club in the 20th century to win the double. Again, they wanted to emulate that. We were the first club to win the FA Cup back to back. They wanted to emulate that. We were the first club to win the League Cup twice. Again, they tried to emulate that. Whatever we've done, we've always set the pace, and they've tried to follow.
But for all Tottenham's proud record, Arsenal were now setting the pace in North London, and any new Spurs manager had a struggle to keep on terms.
I arrived at, I think it was November '87, and Arsenal have been doing great things. And of course they were way ahead, and we were going to be trying to catch them up, which wasn't going to be that easy.
But Venables did eclipse the North London rivals 4 years later when he led his side out at Wembley for an FA Cup semi-final against Arsenal. The prize, a place in the 1991 FA Cup final.
In '91, and Gary Lineker was in the team as well then, we had this fantastic performance in the semi-final. And they were really at the top, Arsenal, and we outplayed them, I think it's fair to say.
The highlight for us has to be the '91 semi-final, Paul Gascoigne and all that.
To be playing Arsenal at Wembley brought in a massive attendance, and it was a fantastic showpiece.
Tottenham went into the game clearly as underdogs. Arsenal were odds on to win the double. They virtually all but wrapped up the league that season, and you know, we were just up for it more than them. We wanted it more than they did, and you know, get Paul Gascoigne, great start.
He's hit it like a rocket, as we all remember. I think it'd still be going today if there was no net there. He ran straight over to the bench and he just jumped on me and he just said, "The England goalie." He said he only tried to save it, and I always remember his mad eyes and him screaming that out.
I call it the semi-final that I went to. I didn't play, I went there.
Tottenham's other hero that day was Gary Lineker, who scored twice and made it an occasion to treasure for Spurs fans. The England international goal poacher made sure of a famous 3-1 victory over the old enemy. But while Spurs celebrated, the red and white half of North London were already trying to forget.
I was the only gooner at my school, and 3 of my then best mates were Tottenham fans. So, well, the next morning I basically cried, feigned injury and illness, and begged my dad not to send me to school. Seeing as he was trying to do the same thing to get out of work, he just sort of couldn't really stop me. So I had the day off. But it was horrible.
That was a magnificent game, and that team was really starting to blend. And I must say there was a lot of fantastic performances through the team. Gazza always gets the credit for it, and quite rightly. I mean, the boys would be very happy to say it was such a great team performance.
Tottenham beat us in the semi-final, the famous